Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you can see today, we got a little maritime theme going on, and we're going to be looking at this cool rigging knife right here and talking about maybe a little bit of history on these knives. So if you'd like to hear more about it, go ahead and check out the video. Okay, you guys, welcome back to Rasputin's Castle. Really interested in the video today. As you can see, we have kind of a seafaring motif going on here today with a sea turtle, a shark, a ship, and a sailor's knife. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. Before we do that, let me welcome everyone. Hi to all my viewers. Bonjour, privet, guten tag, hola, and ciao to my foreign viewers. So we're going to be talking about this knife today. It is a really cool rigging knife. And I'm going to give you a little bit of history on rigging knives. So if you look in the screen right now, you see a couple knives, fixed blades, and so that was typical used on fishing vessels, on whaling ships, those types of ships. Sailor would have had a fixed blade, and in this rigging you see up here is really thick and heavy, and so a pocket knife really isn't going to cut through 3/4 inch rope very well, at least not these little flimsy rope knives. And so that's a typical rig that you saw up there, and some of the preceding ones. They carried fixed blades too, right? And they did that because on the heavier rope they would take the rope, lay it down, and then put the blade on top and use a pin to beat through the rope. On smaller rope, a knife like this would have been appropriate. So they carried more than one knife. They carried a fixed blade, but they also carried knives like these. And so this is a rigging knife. And this knife is about 4 inches long. It has a marlin spike on top and a sheep's foot blade on the bottom. Almost all of them are sheep's foot blades. Some are lamb's foot, which is a little better angle. Has a more acute angle, a lamb's foot, than a sheep's foot. And they were flat grinds and had straight edges, and they primarily were used to cut rope. On this knife is part of a large class of knives called rope knives, but what we normally think of as a rope knife is something like this: single blade knife, curved back, curved jack, and blunt end on the blade with a flat edge. And these we call rope knives. These we call rigging knives. And the difference between all of those are lumped into the category of sailor's knives. So rigging knives came about around the 1890s, where in the previous pictures you saw where the marlin spike was separate. It was a separate tool that you carried to help get knots out. And so in around 1890, they incorporated it into a knife. And actually, I've seen earlier knives with spikes on them earlier than 1890. But so a rigging knife, this marlin spike comes out and it locks like that. So you can't close this blade. It's not going to close on you. It locks. And we call knives like that rigging knives. There's a very similar knife, like this one. You can see they're very similar. Has a marlin spike on the top. Has your sheep's foot blade on the bottom there. And this knife is called a yachtsman's knife. And so if it locks, it's a rigging knife. If it doesn't lock, it's a yachtsman's knife. So this knife is made of stainless steel. You can see stainless steel bolsters throughout, stainless steel marlin spike, stainless steel blade. And I think this knife, you can see right there, it's surgical steel, made in Japan, CS31. I don't know whether you can see that right there, CS31. I think this is a sharp knife made in Japan. Sharp, SH. RAP, but I'm not sure. So if one of you guys recognize this knife, go ahead and put in the comments what the knife is, because I'd love to know for sure. Anyhow, you have a bone here for scales and beautiful scrimshaw on there, which is why I bought this knife. And back in the day, they used to scrimshaw ivory, but this knife is too new, so you haven't been able to use ivory since about the 60s, I think. And they just hit scrimshaw bone now. And that's Barnabas checking us out, my cat. So there's another variation of this knife. In 1946, a guy named Captain Curry came home from World War II. He was English, and he designed a sailor's knife. Looks a lot like a rigging knife, but it had a slot in the middle here, big old slot, and that's called a bosun's knife. So this is not a bosun's knife. A bosun's knife has that slot in the middle, or in some of the newer ones, it has a separate blade for opening up shanks. So it helps you to open up a shackle, rather. Helps open shackles. And that's a bosun's knife. So this is a rigging knife. This is a yachtsman's knife. And the ones that have a hole, either a keyhole in here like you saw in the picture, or sometimes they have a separate blade that has that keyhole in it, and that was used for opening shackles. And so that's the third iteration of this type of knife right here, and that's about as far as it's evolved so far, I think. And then rope knife has single blade, so we call these rope knives. This is an old Camillus rope knife, has a lot of character. And these things, you can see, I've seen them back to the 1820s, I think, maybe even earlier. And this was a type of knife that they use. There's a picture right now up of a Tar's knife was actually taken off of what was used on a sailing vessel, a man of war. And that's an example of it that they found on the vessel that they raised up. So they've been using them for a long time, and they continue. This is still a popular knife. So anyhow, I hope you found the video informative. I really appreciate you guys for supporting the channel, and thanks again.